As Clash of Champions draws near, you can be sure that last night's Raw will offer some build-up to the WWE's latest pay-per-view. However, will Raw deliver, or will it come up short? Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the good, the bad, and the damn right ugly from the 26th August 2019 edition of Monday Night Raw. Tonight's Raw is coming to you from New Orleans, Louisiana, once a boomtown during the days of Mid-South Wrestling. Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Renee Young are on hand to call the action. The show opens up with a good heel promo from Sasha Banks, as the boss finally explains her absence, return, and subsequent heel turn. Banks mocks her former friend Natalya, leading to Natty running in for the pull-apart brawl. Backstage, the Street Profits do their thing, hyping tonight's show. They announce a tag team turmoil match is being held tonight to determine the number one contenders for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Ricochet cuts a promo about his upcoming King of the Ring match against Drew McIntyre. That match is up next, as Ricochet plays the Artful Dodger throughout the match, eluding McIntyre's power-based offense and counter-attacking with lightning responses. Speed overcomes power as Ricochet hits the 630 splash for the win. He now advances to the quarterfinals to face Samoa Joe. A backstage interview sees newly crowned Raw Tag Team Champions Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins, who also happens to be Universal Champion, discussing who Rollins will defend the Universal Championship against. Rollins discusses potential challenges until he realizes Strowman wants the shot. Obviously. The Architect tells Strowman the title shot is his. What was the point of them becoming Tag Team Champions then? The WWE's A-lister The Miz talks about how he wants to win the King of the Ring and become King Awesome, but unfortunately that doesn't happen as The Miz takes on Baron Corbin. King Awesome won't be this year as The Miz misses a springboard, allowing the Lone Wolf to land the End of Days for the pin. Baron Corbin advances through and will now face Cedric Alexander in the quarterfinals. In a post-match interview, Corbin dismisses the fan poll that revealed he was the last person anyone wanted to win the King of the Ring competition. Corbin tells the fans to prepare for King Corbin. Has a nice ring to it. A hype video airs for NXT's move to the USA Network, and also a video recap shows Rey Mysterio's in-ring problems and how he nearly retired before his son Dominic asked him to stay in the game until he passed the torch to him. Is Dominic becoming a luchador? Next up, SmackDown Women's Champion makes an arrival to Raw and faces Nikki Cross in a non-title match. Alexa Bliss's Women's Tag Team Championship partner comes up short against the Hugger, counting the lights after Bayley delivers a flying elbow smash. Braun Strowman is interviewed backstage about his match at Clash of Champions. The Monster Among Men promises to win the Universal Championship, retain the tag titles, and successfully defend the US Championship he plans on winning tonight against AJ Styles. Next up is the Tag Team Turmoil No. 1 Contenders match for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Round 1 sees the Viking Raiders versus the B Team, and they manage to overcome them. Round 2 sees the Viking Raiders versus the OC, as things quickly break down as all 4 men brawl, leading to a double disqualification. That means we have 2 new tag teams in round 3 as Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler go up against the Lucha House Party of Lince Dorado and Gran Metalik. Roode and Ziggler get a rare Raw win when Ziggler hits the super kick on Metalik. They advance through to round 4 and face the Revival. Roode and Ziggler score a second win as Roode's glorious DDT to Dawson finishes this round. Yeah, they're doing pretty good. In round 5, Roode and Ziggler go up against Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. The Miracle Jobber Connection wins another round as veteran fans wonder if they're seeing this generation's Techno Team 2000. Another super kick by Ziggler and Long Island IZ does the JOB. It's round 6 and the last round as Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler go up against Heavy Machinery. Let's not bother asking why a SmackDown tag team is competing for a shot at the Raw Tag Team Championship. Instead, let's ask whether Roode and Ziggler's winning ways can continue. Incredibly, they do, as Ziggler superkicks Tucker, hits the zigzag, and watches as Roode lands his glorious DDT for another win. Robbie Roode and Dolph Ziggler are now the new number 1 contenders for the Raw Tag Team Championship. After the turmoil, it's a women's match between Sasha Banks and Natalya. Despite her injured arm, Natalya is determined to win. However, determination wasn't enough last night as Banks wins by submission after locking in the Banks statement. As medical personnel check on Natalya, Banks decides Natalya hasn't had enough yet and it's time for another dose of the Banks statement. Next up, Cedric Alexander goes up against Cesaro as Cedric hits another successful outing as he defeats Cesaro with the lumberjack for the 1-2-3. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode discuss how they became tag team partners, and Ziggler says he doesn't trust too many people, but he saw drive and determination in Roode. Also, Roode is doing absolutely nothing of note as of late. Roode says they were destined not only to become a tag team, but tag team champions. And a video package airs showing the Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt's transformation into the Fiend. It's the main event and the United States Championship match between AJ Styles and Braun Strowman. The champion had his hands full last night, but an opportune ref bump and some help from the OC members Anderson and Gallows looks to turn the tide AJ's way. Styles grabs a chair and blasts Strowman with it, but Strowman gets the chair and clobbers Anderson and Gallows with it. Unfortunately, the referee disqualifies Strowman. After the match, Strowman delivers chair shots to Gallows and Styles, then picks up AJ for the running power slam, punishing the champion further. And that was the end to Raw. So let's look at the good, the bad, and the damn right ugly. First the good, as Banks breaks down the fourth wall. Last night's promo from Sasha Banks was an excellent build-up for a match against Becky Lynch, as well as a good example of how to incorporate real-life happenings into an angle. Blue-haired Banks' promo broke the fourth wall as she discussed and acknowledged her rumoured meltdown reported by various insiders, following her and Bayley losing the Women's Tag Team Championship at WrestleMania 35. As Vince Russo repeatedly demonstrated as he booked WCW into bankruptcy, work shoots easily backfire. However, two things are different in this situation, as the promo was likely produced by Paul Heyman, someone who knows how to work casual fans and smarks, and number two, even the most casual fans can keep up on backstage gossip thanks to news websites, social media and YouTube. The promo skillfully incorporated the reports of Banks taking a ball and going home into Banks' jealousy over Becky Lynch getting to main event the Showcase of the Immortals while she defended a meaningless tag title. Banks' comments about Natalya only furthered her heel status, hopefully turning fans against her for her match against the Man. Traditionally, WWE doesn't usually acknowledge any whispers at the rumour mill and tends to ignore the situation completely. However, it seems that they've started to adopt a different approach by blurring the lines between reality and storylines by breaking the fourth wall and acknowledging the dirt sheets, ultimately incorporating it into their own storylines. Number 2. An overnight sensation? The WWE did a fantastic job building up Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler as a championship-worthy team thanks to clever booking that put them over 4 teams, 2 of them being former tag team champions. While there's no guarantee they'll win the titles, the conflict being built up between the current champions suggests they will. Ziggler and Roode have been booked into oblivion as single stars, but a tag run could be a good way to rehabilitate their career and give them a push in the WWE. Number 3. Continued build-up for storylines. The WWE did a lot to advance their storylines on Raw, and they made excellent use of their time, whether it was Banks' promo, the tag team turmoil match, or the little things like recapping the Roman Reigns mystery storyline, reminding fans of Rey Mysterio's near retirement, or hyping NXT on USA Network. Consistency is a vital element in rehabilitating the WWE, as we've frequently discussed, and this Raw was consistent. Every match counted tonight, including Bayley and Cedric Alexander's win furthering their respective pushes. Number 4. The Street Profits. While Monday Night Raw opened with a promo, it wasn't the much maligned and deservedly so 20-minute openings that set up a match for later in the show. Instead, the WWE used the promo to further develop Sasha Banks' heel turn, then used the Street Profits to discuss the night's show. And number 5. No mention of an engagement. Whilst we're happy about the news that Lynch and Rollins are engaged in real life, it was a relief to see that WWE weren't incorporating it on screen, and surprisingly made no mention of it on TV. Thank goodness we didn't have to hear Cole mention it about 300 times during the night. That was the good. What about the bad? As number 1, glaringly obvious booking. The WWE isn't being subtle about Braun Strowman turning on Seth Rollins during their tag team title defense, and chances are Strowman will destroy the Architect during the match, so Rollins has to defend his Universal Championship hurt. While there's always hope that Paul Heyman will pull one of his convincing swerves, Vince McMahon's authority to make the final call has WrestleLamia certain where this is going. And number 2 are the OC circling the drain. Anderson and Gallows' poor performance in the tag team turmoil match is another hint that team's push may already be over. As we discussed last week, every wrestler or team needs to show vulnerability, but if this continues, fans will have little reason to think Gallows and Anderson are any different than they were before teaming with Styles. That was the good, the bad. What about the downright ugly, or the downward spiral? It's difficult to tell whose career has suffered as much in the last 6 months, The Miz or Drew McIntyre. While the Scottish psychopath enjoyed a prominent role alongside Shane McMahon during Shane's battle with Roman Reigns, he did a number of jobs, and tonight he put yet another opponent over, this time helping Ricochet advance to round 2 of the King of the Ring. Whilst this isn't anything out of the ordinary, there was talk that the King of the Ring was going to be the turnaround for McIntyre's WWE career, as he'd win the crown and get pushed into a program against Seth Rollins. As bad as that is, it's nothing compared to The Miz's defeat last night, as the Awesome One dropped a match to Baron Corbin, a wrestler whose main event program with Seth Rollins was seen by some as the reason why Rollins' first Universal Championship run was such a disappointment. Although The Miz has seemed comfortable as an upper-card star, his losses to Shane McMahon and last night's loss to Corbin suggest the WWE doesn't know how to book him, especially as a babyface. While some fans and analysts are clamoring for The Miz to turn heel, a role we agree he excels at, The Miz isn't to blame for his poor showing as a face. The WWE is for portraying him as a loser, a surefire way to sink anyone's career. And whilst it's not a part of the ugly, we must mention the news of Raw being a complete disaster backstage. Of course, take this with a grain of salt, as it's coming from wrestling's current biggest heel Brad Shepard, but he tweeted, "A source in WWE told me earlier that the entire night is already a disaster, with a lot of last minute things going on. They said the XFL couldn't come fast enough." Well, no matter how much of a disaster it was backstage, this was an okay episode of Raw. What did you guys think of the show? Let us know in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.